Is there any hope for guys like us? For guys in this position? For guys that are rejected and ejected by society? For the guys who will never have children, never have wives, never have anything with the resemblance of a normal life? Where's our hope? Do we even have hope? When a man has been devastated for years, isolated in tears and devastation and annihilation, when you've done like when you've dealt with so much regret and it's still not done, like your life and the pain continues to increase, and you've never had really nothing good happen in your life, where do you go from there? Do you keep going to your 9 to 5 every day? Do you give up? And if you give up, what do you do? If you keep going, what do you do? Because in reality, you're just trapped in the system. In reality, our bodies are going to cease functionality. And there's nothing we can do to stop that. Every person, whether they're successful, whether they're poor, is eventually going to pass away. So for guys like us who have extremely traumatic lives and we've been through a lot of different situations, is there any hope for us? Can we be rehabilitated? Can we be revitalized? Is there any viability, you know, in anything that we choose to pursue? Or is our lives too volatile? We've been too badly damaged. We're spoiled goods. Our souls are broken. Our minds are broken. Time's already rotted away from underneath us. We're old. Is there any chance that life can just hand us a bone and $1 million will come into our life somehow? You know, like $1 million falls from the sky. Will that actually happen? No. Will a loving, caring God watching us suffer, will he finally feel sorry for us and bless us with money and a girl and power and wealth and influence? Will that eventually happen? No. So what's going to happen really for guys like us? If you're a grown adult and you're still trapped in your parents' house, or maybe you're kicked out, homeless, you don't have nowhere to go, there's always an invisible shadow dagger at your neck and the back of your nape, like Captain Levi when he fought the Beast Titan, you know. There's always something that's there to try to cut you down. And if you notice, whenever you get something that's quote unquote good in your life, something bad comes right around the corner to try to equalize it, and it creates an equilibrium. So if you get a promotion at a job, it's not going to be much, but they're going to give you a lot more responsibilities and a lot more stress and put a lot more pressure on you just for a couple of cents and a raise. It's not going to even change your lifestyle anyway. You know, it's macabre to think that we live in a soul trap matrix, or to know, not think, to know that we live in a soul trap matrix. So if we know life is rigged, you know, and this game has favorites, it gives people Game Shark cheat codes so they can surpass all the hardships in life. Meanwhile, we got to play on legendary difficulty or real survival mode. Is it worth it? Is it worth guys like us to still have hope that the future can be bright? Or is that just cope? You know, where do we find the strength from this point? We've been defeated and destroyed. In reality, there's really nowhere left for us to go. In reality, a lot of us already lost control. In reality, we already got thrown off the boat and we're in the ocean and the turbulent waves are coming upon us. It's pitch black at night and it's only a matter of time before we succumb to the waves. It's only a matter of time before we succumb to the rage, and the pain inside of our brain is just asking to go away and escape. We live in a very interesting world where people's dreams can come true. People can get a beautiful woman in their life. People can become millionaires in their 20s, but the probability for guys like us for that happening too is zero. For whatever reason, we were picked to go through a life of hell. We were picked to go through a life of war every single day. You know, you have so much difficulties in this world. Trying to get a girlfriend, dealing with not being hugged or just being touch starved for a long time, dealing with psychological issues, dealing with, financial difficulties, dealing with, random strangers who don't even know you, that think they know your life. It's like, you don't know me, homie. Don't sit there and think you know my life. Fuck you. You know, you got to deal with all types of just crazy stuff, right? It's really weird how certain people get people fixated on them while others, they can just make YouTube channels talking about the exact same thing you're talking about and be totally ignored. You know, what is it? What is it about me? I'm not no big famous YouTuber, so why do you want to associate? Say, well, just a parasite. You know, in 2021, no one knew who I was, and no one wanted to parasite off of me. It's like they see you get a little momentum, and then they try to parasite because they can't get no momentum. I want to say something else, but YouTube's guidelines. Anyway, so where do we go from here, guys, in this situation? Do we keep on trying to cope? What is there to do? Where is there to go? Do we have to wake up with the monotony of just going to the 9 to 5 every day and that's life? And you want to tell me, oh, that's the responsibility of an adult. That's the responsibility of a servant. And being a good servant and being obedient to the government is what got people in this position now. Look, everybody followed the law for the last couple of 100 years. Everybody did what the government said, and there's still inflation. There's still the creation and fomentation of warring nations. There's still all of this negativity. There's still all of this negative energy. There's still the persistent pursuit of negativity in this world. The government has all the money to create weapons of mass warfare, but have no money to create weapons of peace and tranquility. That shows you that their mindset is bent on destruction. They're not here to stop poverty. They're not here to heal the people, to feed the hungry and the sick, or nothing like that. And look, man, I'm not trying to be some saint or something like that. I'm just being real. When you have a mass accumulation and retention of resources, and you refuse to extend those resources to those who are keeping your society in order and keeping your society in full functionality, you're destroying the society. So now I have to question your humanity. Now I have to question your sanity. Why are you being so barbaric? Why are you withholding resources from the people? So you have to start asking these questions. You come to a conclusion that whoever or whatever is running this world is not human like me or you. They have these alien tendencies. They have these alien proclivities. They have a propensity for causing negative intensity upon humanity. And then they hide in the shadows. I never understood that. If you're willing to attack somebody, if you're willing to go all out on somebody, at least admit it. If you're willing to do the attack, but then now you're trying to hide and act like you didn't do it, right? You're controlling government systems from the shadows. You're controlling people's quote unquote elected leaders, and people think that they elected the leaders and they don't know about secret societies or anything like that because they're ignorant and they refuse to believe the truth that's right in front of their eyes. For guys like us who will never have a wife, never have children, never ever never be able to come home and hear, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy's home." Your wife smiles at you, kisses you. She's baking, some baked chicken and an apple pie, with some lemon, some lemonade, some homemade lemonade, and you come home, you kiss her, you hug her, you say hi to your children, you tell your children you guys want to go to the movies. They're like, yeah. You're like, all right, you guys get ready. You're going to leave in another 45 minutes. You see your wife, you smile at her. You smack your wife on the butt. You know what I mean? You give her a kiss. You give her a hug. You feel that connectivity, that love, that emotional tranquility that gives you the ability to navigate through this destructive life. And you get that life feel, You go to the movies with your wife and your children are laughing, having a good time. Then after you go buy them some toys somewhere, it's just, I don't know. We men like us will never experience that. What we'll experience is being yelled at by your parents well into your 30s. We'll experience living with your parents until your 30s or being homeless in your fucking 30s. Being homeless when you're 20 is different than being homeless in your mid 30s. There's nothing worse. There's nothing that can prepare you for it and happens. And especially when you know that there's negative energetic manifestational forces that are at play, when there's demons and demonic spirits and evil archons that are purposely making your life difficult on purpose. And remember, we live in the hell realm. I keep telling you that, if you don't believe me, just look into your life and notice every time when something goes right, something goes wrong equally to balance it out. Like, you could spend your last money on DoorDash and you finally get the food you want, but then they forget the sauce, or they don't, they do something that's just, it seems small, but then it has a major consequence. And then all of a sudden you go to the other room, then your dog comes and your dog gets into the bag and your dog starts eating some of your food and you shoo it away, and you find out a roommate came in there and took a cheeseburger and then they left him with the work. You're like, what the hell? Why did they do that? Why would they do that? And it's like, wow. So you trying to cope with food, something bad happens right after. And it'd be something that's never happened before either. There's things that happened in my life that I've never thought that would happen, right? And it's funny how it happened when I tried something new. Every time I try something new and it starts to work, it starts to move, then there's always something that stops that groove. There's always something that comes up and tries to attack me. And when I start to notice these patterns and fluctuations, I start to see different in these situations that we currently find ourselves engaged in. And it started to make sense that there's a demiurge. It started to make sense that guys like us, we just lose hope after a while. How can you go through so much emotional pain and still regain your sensibilities? How? Especially us older guys. You expect us to just magically heal from working a job? The first thing for rehabilitation is to get away from the negative situation that created the negative frequency. That means not being around your toxic job. That means not being poor. That means not being around negative people anymore. And a lot of us were permanently stuck with negative people. We're permanently stuck in these negative positions. So it's going to be difficult for us to just up and leave. We can't just do that. So, how they tell you those in those therapy courses, they'd be like, well, you can't have stress in your life. What are you talking about? Modern life is nothing but stress. Modern life is nothing but paying bills that you really can't afford. Paying bills is modern life. So how can you tell somebody to not to take stress out their life if you're not telling them that they're going to have to find a job that they like? They're going to have to do something that is a job that makes them, it's something that they love to do and makes them money. That's the ultimate job. Because believe it or not, whatever you do for a living has a major effect on your psychological mindset. If you wake up every day and go to a place of battle, you go to a place of hostility, you go to a place of volatility, then your ability to think creatively and your ability to think critically and your ability to analyze situations, it falls drastically. Once you become demoralized in this world of lies and your mind tries and it still gets defied, it's very difficult to try to keep your eye on the ball. For guys like us, man, it's a very negative life. We live in a very evil system. We live in a system that's designed to break us. It's designed to make us into servants. It's designed to make us obedient to somebody that claims that they can talk to a God. Well, if the pastor can talk to God, how come bad things still happen? How come when things happen, the pastor is so vague? Oh, God said, let it be done. Why are you being so vague? What did this God say exactly? How come? What makes you better than me? That this God is talking to you instead of talking to me when I'm the one that's struggling financially, struggling mentally, struggling emotionally? How come this God doesn't just talk to me? Why is he talking to a rich pastor who doesn't have none of the worries that I have? Seems strange, huh? Seems like this God is just made up and not real. Or if it's real, it's an asshole. And why does this God pick and talk to certain people? And then other people, this God totally ignores. This God doesn't even give any type of attention or influence at. Right? There's something wrong in this world. There's something drastic in this world. There's something sick in this world. There's something wrong. If your whole entire life you've been getting rejected by girls and It just hadn't happened. It just hasn't happened for you. You just weren't able to pop off. And it does something to a man's confidence over a while when you're never able to have that girl. You're never able to, you know, really have those options that other people had. You know, it does something to you, and it's not good for a guy to be alone. It's not good to be trapped in this vortex of emotional dysfunctionality. It's not good to be abandoned, right? So there's something going on in this world, and there's something that's evil that's going on, and it's not right, but we have to live through it. How can somebody who's never really had help, never really had a family structure, never had anything with the resemblance of normality, how can this person just magically become successful? Some of us are destined to fail. Some of us were destined never to prevail. Some of us were destined to be in this eternal infernal hell, right? And you got people that think they're better than other people because they have a job. Well, I got a job, so I'm better than him. You're nothing but a wage servant. You understand that? And stop being in another grown man's business that has nothing to do with you. Because there's other people out there that got way bigger channels and they're homeless. They don't got a place to stay. You have Joey, I don't want to say that last word, but you have a guy named Joey, and he talks about being homeless. He lives in his car or whatever, and people are supportive about him. No one's really talking crap about him, and he has very strong political views when it comes to skin color configurations and other types of political issues. But yet, those people are saved. So that let me know that the archons and the demiurge, they pick and choose who's able to do what, who's able to say what, who's able to grow big and all that. What do you do when you grow up in a family that has mental issues? What do you do when you grow up in a family that doesn't understand financial literacy and they never teach it? There's no proliferation of economic stabilization in the family. And instead, there's just economic stagnation, emotional stagnation. And there's no type of economic pillar in the family that can uplift people. Meaning, nobody in your family that owns their own business. Nobody in your family that has it together, yet they talk about you. If somebody's in their 40s and 50s and they have to work every day, that means that they haven't built a system where they can quit their jobs. That means when they're 20s and their teens, whatever happened, they haven't built up a system that creates an automatic economic acceleration for themselves, that they can just quit their job and they have money, they have a business, they have something that they own. We get people in their 60s and 70s and they're still working at a grocery store in their 60s and 70s. They can't even move. They can't even wipe their butts right at that age. And you're telling me that they have to work every day? And this is America. This is freedom. This is what the forefathers, quote unquote, fought for. But a lot of the forefathers were Freemasons. How many people knew that? Not a lot. Because people always kiss the forefathers' ass, not even knowing that a lot of them did deals with devils. If you look at the layout of the White House, it's in the shape of a pentagram. You have sacred geometry being utilized, and integrated into the formation of American capitals. They have a place where they build a building in a certain way, in a certain trajectory, in a certain angle, and it makes it more susceptible for demons to hold demons. There's certain hot spots. There's certain ley lines. If you guys don't know what ley lines are, I suggest you look into what a ley line is. And there's a lot of magical influences above ley lines. So they'll build capitals upon ley lines. And they use these cities because all a city is a big harvesting center. If you think about what a city is, people in the city, they got to work, they got to pay bills, they got to get something to eat, they laugh, they cry, they hurt, they go through pain. In the city, it's just a big emotional harvest. That's what these cities are. That's why they don't like people living out in the middle of nowhere in the forest. That's why they still tax you. If you go out in the middle of nowhere and try to live, they tax you and they try to discourage you from living out in the middle of nowhere because they lose control over you. This is why they want you under their control. They want you to be around them. Because in the city, people pass away. These hospitals are filled with demons, and I'm not talking about the spirits. Yes, there's spirits that are demonic, but also the humans there. There's people in the hospital that will let you pass away and they could have saved you just because your skin color configuration. Somebody was telling me, I think you put too much emphasis on skin color, on race. I said, I didn't put no emphasis on race. Society put emphasis on race, not me. Oh, well, if you're just tall, you can bypass that. Okay, if you're tall, you can be attractive, but what you misunderstanding because you're not my skin color configuration and never was, and you never felt targeted because of your skin color configuration, so you don't have no idea what you're talking about, is even though there's a handsome black guy that's 6'2", in the eyes of people in the dominant society, he's still a servant. I can't say the words I want to say, so I got to, he's still a servant. They don't care if he's 6'2" and handsome. Yeah, the girl may get a thrill, but the men who control society, he's still, there's a thing called the one drop rule. Look into that. I won't explain what that means. So, yeah, there's some black guys out there that are winning and all that, but at the end of the day, he still has that skin color configuration, right? The world is based on visual decadence. People judge you on how you look like. So if somebody tries to say that race doesn't play a part or you put too much emphasis on race, I didn't put emphasis on race. Your forefathers did. Those European men of old, they the ones that emphasize race. They're the ones that created the codes of law that were integrated with racial structures and culpabilities. Not me or my people. We didn't have any power. You know, you know. They were the ones that integrated and implemented a system that's based on skin color configuration. They're the ones that did it. And then now, when it doesn't benefit you anymore, you want to complain. I'm the one that has to target. Just because you may not have a racist bone in your body doesn't mean other people in the world, how are you going to tell somebody who every single race in the world has a problem with? Somebody where everywhere they go, there's a problem. In Japan, they had 2 nuclear bombs that were dropped upon Japan. Yet the Japanese welcomed Americans with open arms. But people like me, we didn't build a nuclear bomb and do that to Japan. So why do people of Japanese descent? Why do they seem to have a problem with people like us, right? We didn't bother them in Japan. If you notice, America becomes friends with every one of their enemies. If you look at who America war with, ever since the war, since 2001, all of that, the Vietnam War, World War II, Americans fighting the Germans and the Japanese. It was America, British, Canada, and all the Allied powers versus the Axis. Now all of them are friends. But you know who was the enemy through and through? People of my skin color configuration, before the war, during the war, after the war, all the way now. So let's not act like that doesn't play a major role. Right, and of course, if somebody doesn't have to go through the persecution, they don't go through it. They're not going to relate to you because they don't go through it. Anyway, when you've been going through hell long enough, you kind of start to adapt. You kind of start to see the world for what it really is, and it's a merciless place. It's a place where, if I had a choice, I would have never been a part of such a wicked, sadistic, twisted, volatile world. A world that's hostile to creativity is not a world that I want to be a part of. A world that rewards evil, rewards liars, rewards narcissists, rewards people that just want to start something with you just because. You haven't done nothing to these people and they want to start something with you, because they can get away with it. They can do little things and not be held accountable. But in real life, those same people are sweet as pumpkin pie, right? You see, the internet made it so people who are cowards in real life, so they can feel like they're strong. But you're not strong, You find somebody who you think pays you attention, and you try to get attention, like a female, like a little girl asking for her crush or whatever, trying to get attention for people who don't even know you or care about you. It's pathetic to be a grown man and a troll. That means you have nothing going on in your life. What's the price to be paid in order for us to escape being in that cage? Do we got to sell our souls? Do we got to sign our name in blood? Make a sacrifice or whatever they say? just so we can have all this money and success. And recently there was a music producer named Tay Keith, and he passed away under mysterious circumstances. The same way as a music producer passed away a few years ago named D Hill, who had songs with Drake and Future, and it's always when these producers and these people in the music industry, whenever they start getting higher and higher and higher, I'm not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna get into that. But it seemed like you got to do something evil in this world to get ahead. That's what it seems like. Because everybody you see that's ahead, they all did something evil. They all did something wicked. They all did something that most people say that they shouldn't have their business, no business doing. But if they would have kept on that righteous path, quote unquote, which is what's a righteous path in the evil world, they would have never made anything. They'll still be at church paying their tithes, thinking that a God's going to bless them. If God hasn't blessed you by now, and you're over the age of 30, this God doesn't care about you. If you've been asking and praying and praying to this God, and this God knows what you're going through. This God knows you need money. This God is the one that created the money, the system of money. This God is doing this to you on purpose. This God knows you need help. This God knows you're struggling, but does this God help you? Yes or no? It's a simple question. If this God doesn't help you, then that should be everything that you should know. I should tell you everything that you should know about this God if he doesn't help you. If this God sees you're struggling and just allows you to struggle and puts more turbulence in your life and more turmoil, why would a God do that? Why would a God see you struggling and increases your struggles, but never increases your blessings? Why would a God do that? And you guys sit here and worship him, you know, you know. You worship a God that's actively causing you to have hell in your life, and you wonder why your life is even worse. I remember when I used to pray, my life would get even worse. It would make no sense. And they would say, that's the devil. Okay, the devil is just a scapegoat. Enough is enough. When is this God going to take actual responsibility for his volatility and his hostility? When is this God going to actually pay up his dues? When is he going to be judged? Because the only mother effer I think needs to be judged is this wicked, sadistic, twisted, ballistic God. Right? Every day we struggle. Every day we go through battle. Every day we go through tragedies. Every day. And we get nothing for it except more pain. I'm sick of this world, and I'm sick of all the ridiculousness that is integrated into this world. I'm sick of the hypocrites. I'm sick of them trying to, say happy things, and they want false positivity or force happiness. It's like you can't force somebody to be happy that's not genuinely happy. That's why any job where you got to work with the public and you got to force a smile is not for me. The jobs for me are the jobs that you work by yourself, the jobs that you were able to use your talent, your creativity, and ingenuity and create something. Those are the jobs for me, right? I know a lot of us would flourish if we were given the right circumstances to actually live our dreams and create a solid foundation. But a lot of us wasn't given that. A lot of us were given just negativity after negativity after negativity after negative events that seemed orchestrated and created to make our life devastated. It just seems that way. Certain events in your life seem like this, like a dark magician behind it who's organizing these events and making them happen. It's not just random. It's not just a random series of events. It seems too well put together, at least in my eyes. Right? It seems like something did this on purpose. Right? Just look in your life and you tell me, is your life good right now? Would you want to live this life that you're living every day? Is this something that you loved? Is this something that you wanted to be when you were younger? Or is life a total hell for you? Is life a total disaster for you? You tell me. Only you know the answer to that question. Is this the world that you imagined when you were younger? Not having a wife, not having a way to escape, not having any money, not having any type of anything in life really. And the people that got jobs, they don't got nothing either. Or I got a job and I pay bills. I'm better than you. No, you're not. How are you better than me? Are you living out your dreams? And why do you care to try to be better than me? I'm not trying to be better than you. I'm trying to just mind my business and stay out the way. I don't even know who you are and don't want to know who you are. So why are you so involved in my life? Because I don't give a fuck about your life. So why you care about my life? Why? What is attracting you to? What is attracting these flies? Right? What is attracting these parasites? Why don't you go to somebody else? And then you can't even man, these people are so lucky they hide behind the internet, right? Because in real life, they wouldn't want to fight. They just think it's a game because they haven't been caught yet. You know,